Hi, I'm Keith. Sound check, too loud? Everybody's okay? Okay, I'm not gonna say anything really important for about 3 or 4 minutes, so if you need to go to the bathroom, now's the time. If this is the wrong presentation, they'll think you're going to the bathroom. I've got a fairly generic PDM title, and so the fact that you guys are here, you found this 1, 9, and 10, so this is probably a hardcore group. We'll see. A little bit about me, done all kinds of stuff, nuclear power industry, automotive industry, microelectronics, injection molding, started with Cat Edge 2007, started using SolidWorks in 2005, joined the PDM team a couple years ago. All the prerequisite certifications and stuff. I did get a headset, a Bose headset, for keeping them up last year. So they're all up to date. All right, so why are you guys here? Work group? Who's using work group? Wow. Okay, who has used work group? Okay, enterprise? Shocker. That's amazing. Okay, awesome. So I will tailor this a little bit to go toward the enterprise side. I'm going to start with work group. Concepts are the same. So, seriously, why are you here? Who wants to tell me what they're hoping to get out of this? How to use it correctly. I'm not sure I know exactly how to answer that, but I'll try. Who else? Come on. So you're scared of it. You want to see what you're getting into. So they don't have it yet. They want to see what they're getting into. Yes, sir. Okay. So he's implementing next month. You're implementing enterprise or work group? Enterprise. Are you on the implementation side, or it's being foisted upon you? Okay. You're going to be an admin? Awesome. Okay. Next month. Okay. Anybody else? Because if you don't tell me, I won't be able to cover it. That is okay. So the question was if I'm going to show how to use SolidWorks Explorer with PDM, do you use the PDM, the workgroup add-in with SolidWorks Explorer, or do you just rename it? Sure. Okay. Do you have to log in to a Vault or see little blue folders or anything? You do? Okay. All right. So you've got a workgroup PDM add-in in your Explorer, and using that to rename files to meet customer expectations. Okay. I don't address SolidWorks Explorer specifically, but I will address like moving files around in workgroup. Anybody have any problems reusing designs in workgroup or enterprise? No, nobody breaks external references or loses a file, overwrites something version they need? No. You overwrite? Okay. Okay, so in workgroup we got the overwrite problem. Okay, good. Yes, sir.
A lot of users importing DWGs with XREFs, and they can't check any XREF because it's no longer.
Right. Okay. So he's talking about a problem. He has users checking DWG files in with external references, and he can't check the XREFs in. Toolbox, come on. Everybody wants that, right? Everybody's questioning that. Okay, I will not, I'm going to go ahead and predict I will not get to the XREFs, but afterwards we could talk about that. That's not in here. That was pretty good. That was good. Yes, sir. Sure.
In 2012, would it allow you to enter 2 files or like name default, but 2013 does? Is there a way to have it do that?
Enterprise or work group? Okay, so the question is, can I enter duplicate file names in enterprise? In 12 and 13, there's a switch. and you can tell Enterprise yes or no. Work group, anybody? I see this, but nobody's saying, no, can't do it in work group. Can't have dupes in work group. There's some pretty basic reasons for that, yes.
So if you have two files with the same name, how do your assemblies know which one is which?
That's one of the reasons you can't have duplicate file names in workgroup. It's 'cause so the question was, if you have duplicate file names in your vault, how do your assemblies know which bolt to use? The short answer is it's SQL. So SQL knows there's a bolt here and a bolt here. In Enterprise, in workgroup, you can't because it doesn't.
But is that just one for me?
No.
I got an error message a few times where it says.
It's set up that way.
Has a file with that name.
Enterprise is set up that way to prevent you from doing that. It can be. Me either. I'm with you. So she didn't think you ought to be able to have duplicate file names in the vault, and I don't either. It's too many letters in the alphabet. You guys are too creative. Okay, that was good. That was good. All right. So I'm going to get right down to the punchline for both work group and Enterprise. There is no punchline. Most of the problems that people have reusing designs are coming from SolidWorks. The problems are coming from just kind of misusing these external file references. So if you can keep in mind that external file references rule, anybody remember this from the Essentials Manual? It's all the way back like page 400 now. It used to be in the 300s. It's way back there. But there's and they put this up in lesson 1 as well. So at the top of the food chain in our 3D product is a 2D drawing, right? So these external file references, you email somebody a DWG file, SLD, DRW, and they open it up and what do they see? A title block and some blank boxes because you didn't send them the part files or the assembly files. This is explaining that. This is telling you a drawing is just a title block, size of the page, some stuff, and a reference to the part files. Same thing for an assembly. I've got external references in an assembly as well. So in a data management system, I still have to abide by this. I still have to help SolidWorks out with this. I can't break these, right? And with a data management system, it's easier to keep these intact. It's easier to maintain these. But when I hear people complaining that they've overwritten stuff or they've broken external references or I can't reuse something, I've tried to reuse an old version and it won't work, it's usually because we've broken external references. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. Right, this is also in the Essentials book. But just a refresher. Right, where SolidWorks goes looking for files, when you tell it, when you open a drawing or an assembly where it goes looking for reference files, it goes looking where we think it should, 5th. Right, that's the 5th place it goes looking. So now, if you understand this, number 1 is it goes looking in RAM. So now do you see why I don't and she doesn't think you ought to have parts named the same? Because even if Enterprise is helping you out, if Bolt's already open, it's gonna swap it out in the next assembly you open. Enterprise can't help you with that. That's SolidWorks. That's what I refer to as genetic. That's just the way it works. It can't be fixed. It can't be altered. I shouldn't say fixed. It's just the way it works. It's not good, it's not bad. So this is something I want you guys to keep in mind. Search list, if selected. Anybody wanna take a potential guess as to what that's referring to? Right, file list if selected. So I'll give you, right, tools options. Come on, shout it out. Where do you think it's talking about if it's selected? File, awesome. Yeah, file locations, reference documents. So if you've got stuff in here, if you've got directories in here, then SolidWorks will look there second. Then finally last path in Windows, and then finally where we're going. And then 7 is the famous, I give up, you find it. All right, that's the 7th place it goes looking. Okay. So some of you guys have already talked to me a little bit about how you're going to reuse, how you reuse parts. Somebody mentioned toolbox. Who puts their toolbox in Enterprise? 1, 2, 3. Wow. Okay, you've started a toolbox in Enterprise? Okay. Okay, so it was outside of Enterprise? Okay. So is anybody just not using Toolbox and has Enterprise? Okay. Why aren't you using Toolbox? What? Just don't use it? Okay. And what about, why wouldn't you go ahead. Okay. Sometimes it'll pull the wrong part out of Toolbox. Okay. So you're not using Toolbox. So it'll pull the wrong part out of Toolbox, so they're not using Toolbox. And if it's in Enterprise, that helps, right? Anybody got Toolbox in Workgroup? We don't have too many Workgroup people here, but you're using Toolbox in Workgroup? So you guys are full-blown, you're in. That's good. Okay. All right. So,
Workgroup and any sort of medium we're talking about, we've been seeing lately, a lot of people trying to use toolbox parts and they tell me the assembly portion of it's not linked to the same toolbox, so something we need to throw.
right. Right. So the problem they're having is some people are using and some people aren't. That's really common, by the way. Some users are more adventurous than others, especially if you have standalone seats. So some users use in Toolbox, some aren't, and they'll send them apart, and then they can't open the Toolbox parts because they don't have it added in, right? They don't have the Toolbox in use. Okay. And design library. Has anybody used design libraries? Okay, not a ton. Should be more. And does anybody have the design library in MPDM? Okay, you should follow her around if you're Enterprise. Okay, you got design library in Enterprise? How you like it? Okay. Anybody not like it design in Enterprise, design library in Enterprise? One person who shall remain nameless. All right. We're going somewhere fast now. Okay, pulled this right out of the forums. Just a couple of clips. So, conventional wisdom should suggest that library components are stable, but we found the exact opposite to be true, right? If it's not in PDM, that's kind of the clarifier here. If it's not in EPDM, what happens is people overwrite the design library and defeats the whole purpose of having a design library, right? All right, so what I'm going to do is start demonstrating some things, and I pulled an oil lamp assembly out of GrabCAD. Any fans of GrabCAD? All right, so a gentleman named Tommy Mueller, if he's in here, or if you see him, let him know I'm using his oil lamp. But what I liked about it is it's 3 pieces. So I've got a body and a hurricane and a wick control. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to vary the wick control. So this is going to be a really basic assembly that I'm going to use so it's easy to keep track of what's going on. So I just got three configurations of the wick control, and I've got 3 revisions or versions of the oil lamp assembly. Oh, by the way, notice doing something really, really scary. I've got Workgroup and Enterprise added in at the same time. I'm a trained professional. All right, so oil lamp, got ownership. Let's just open and check it out so you can see the model. So I've got the hurricane I mentioned, then I've got this oil lamp body, and then I've got this wick, and the wick control is what I'm going to modulate. All right, try and explain some of what I'm looking at. So right click, we'll take a look at the document information. References. All right, so let's take a look. So on revision C, this is work group related. On revision C of the wick control, I have revision C, I have revision C of the wick control and revision C of the oil lamp. If I switch to B, so the revision level of the oil lamp and the revision level of the wick move in lockstep. If I go to the wick control, you notice I have 3 configurations of the wick control. So if I go to revision C, I have all 3. If I go to revision B, I don't have all 3, I only have 2. So I had default, and then I modified my wick control, and I had short, and then I modified my wick control again, and I have long. So default, short, and long, A, B, C. Just kind of give you guys an idea where we are in space. All right. Get rid of that. Right click, open and check out. And now what I want to do is I want to reuse my oil lamp assembly, right? So I want to get an old revision. So I can grab revision B and open and check it out. If you're familiar with workgroup, you just grab yes to all, right? So it's pretty straightforward. What SolidWorks has done is you can see the wick is now shorter, right? The wick's now shorter because I grabbed an old version of the oil lamp. The old version of the oil lamp has a shorter version of the wick in it. But this, if you're a workgroup user, if you've used workgroup, this is your spidey sense should tingle. I shouldn't get a rebuild when I'm opening an assembly out of a vault, right? Anybody want to, why am I getting a rebuild? Go ahead. Same parts already in RAM is one, yes, is one example. But I've got everything closed. It doesn't matter if I have everything closed. Oh, right, leave it open in RAM. In this case, that's not the, right. Because in this case, because I'm opening an older version, right? So this rebuild is telling me I've got a different wick control. Now, if I go look at the properties, I still have 3 configurations, right? I still have 3 configurations, but remember, when I constructed version B, revision B of the oil lamp, I only had revision B of the wick control, right? So now I've opened up revision B of the oil lamp assembly, and the wick control is revision C, so it's rebuilding. It's never seen revision B of the oil lamp with revision C of the wick control. Right? I'm seeing scrunched up faces. Okay? So that's what that rebuild means. And this is where a lot of people stop. They decide that now they see this short wick control, which is too short. They've seen this and they say, uh-oh, now I've done something wrong with my assembly. You didn't do anything wrong with your assembly. You just opened up something that SolidWorks had to rebuild. So now let's take a look again. If I really want to open up revision B of the assembly, notice down here the wick control still shows C. Why wouldn't it grab revision B? Well, because I'm telling it to get the latest revisions of everything else. If I click on as built, now it updates to revision B. Oh. So it's grabbing revision B out of the vault. Right? So revision B is in there. But this screen right here, this is where we're in control of telling the vault what to bring out. So 2 things, right? We've still got in the background, we've got the external file references, right, that we've got to maintain. Because if I have something open in RAM, to his point, if I already have a wick control open in RAM that's the wrong revision, it's going to swap it in here anyway. And then number 2, I've got this dashboard here I've got to pay attention to, whether it's as built or latest revision. And you can set the default. You can change the default in workgroup. So now when I open and check it out, is it going to give me a rebuild or not? Go ahead, write your answer down. Everybody got it locked in? Okay. No. Anybody thought it would and want to ask me why it didn't? No, everybody's in complete control of PDM. Cool. All right. So now we kind of getting our feet set. Now we understand how the oil lamp, hurricane, I'm not doing anything with the oil lamp body in the hurricane at this point, just the wick control. All right. Now I want to do something scary. I'm going to open a WIC control. Then I'm going to modify this. Just something quick and dirty. We'll blow a hole. All right, something easy to see from those seats. All right, and we'll go back into PDM. Right click, check in active document. It's going to bump it a Rev D. Check it in. Okay, so now, didn't keep ownership. So now I've got Rev D, so I'm not going to go back through. But if I open oil lamp Rev C, which version of the WIC is it going to open? If I have latest revision, it's going to open revision D. But what I want to do now is I want to make an assembly out of this. Again, just something real quick and dirty. Plenty of modeling sessions to go to. All right. Oh, brutal. This is my local cache. All right. Right click, SolidWorks PDM options. So this is my local cache. This is where I tell SolidWorks to dump stuff in workgroup. And this is where I tell it to, oops, command defaults. This is where I tell it as built or latest right out of the box. All right. Click. I'm going to check this in. Make sure I check this into the correct project. All right. Okay, so I haven't caused a problem for my oil lamp assembly. If I right click, open checkout, and I get as built for revision C, open checkout. Right, this is the RAM problem. Right, this error message is showing me you've already got a WIC control open. Do you want to continue anyway? Sure. Let's see what happens. See, now you guys know what's going to happen, right? You can see it just from the error messages. You can tell which direction we're coming, and there's the holes. Okay, so there's really not like I said, there's really not a huge punchline. What happens is people don't understand the connection between as built and latest revision when they're opening stuff up, and how that ties into the external references in SolidWorks. Most of the problems occur because I have parts open that have the same name as in an assembly that I'm opening from somewhere else, some other project even, right? If I put this, let's close this. We're not going to save that for now. Close down everything. Let's do this. Open this oil lamp assembly. All right. Now I don't have any revisions to the oil lamp body. This is just basically a sub-assembly. I've got a band around the top that I use. So did the sheet metal thing, flattened it out, cut it, and rolled it back up, put it on top. So I don't have those angled cuts in my circular object. So I've got a sub-assembly here. If I do a file, save as, and oil lamp body save as. Okay, now where is my save as copy? Or it's not a copy. Where is the save as right now? Where is it sitting? It's sitting in my work group local cache. It's on my local hard drive. It's not in the vault. I just saved it. And I can also save as a copy. Let's do this first. let's check this in, and I will check this into keep ownership, a new project. Let's pick. All right. Save as copy. So either way, I've got save as and save as copy in my local cache. Vault doesn't have a problem with this, right? Vault doesn't have a problem with this. Save this one, and we'll check this into a different project. Oh, cancel. Check that into sample. Notice I cannot select these. Why can't I select these? They're used by something else already. They're already in the vault. So if I look in sample, I've got the oil lamp body, and I don't know if you guys can see, but in the bottom left corner of that icon, there's a little arrow. And what that tells me is that's a link to the originals in the project. So in that amount of time, I just showed you how to reuse a part of an assembly, and I showed you how to reuse an assembly, and I didn't break a thing. All follows the rules. And if I want to open up any of the versions of any of those assemblies, I've got a path back to them. I haven't corrupted anything. It's just that straightforward. Any questions on work group? Okay, mostly enterprise guys. For the work group people, don't forget about right-click my work group cleanup up here. So if you want to clear out your vault, you can do this. You can go in here and delete stuff out of your vault. Anybody prefer, or anybody use, we'll skip that. I was going to ask you about pack and go, but we'll do that with enterprise as well. All right, now we're going to go into enterprise. Same oil lamp. All right, but we don't have to open that up, right? We got a preview. So I've got 3 versions this time. I don't have 3 revisions. Enterprise in a month, gentlemen. Get used to getting revision and version. Got to lock that one in. All right, so I have 3 versions of the oil lamp assembly to replace ABC revision in workgroup, because we don't have versions in workgroup, right? I can only bump revs. So we all do one of 2 things. We either use the plus, the working copy, or we don't check it into the vault, because we don't want our boss to know we have 99 revisions. All right, so let's look at the bill of material. So same thing, right? But everything is in this case, it's all at revision A, but I got different versions. This is 2013. I really like this new part of the bill of material interface. I've got my history comments right here. So I initially checked it in, and then I added the short, and then I added the long. Love that. That's good. Contains, going to look a lot like bill of material. Let me go into through Windows Explorer. I'm going to browse over to the WIC control. It's a little different. I didn't keep the 2 vaults in sync, but same thing. I've got 3 versions. And in this case, I've got a where used, so it's used in the oil lamp assembly. Okay, just show you guys how that's tied up. On the contains, while we're here, notice it shows me where it's found. Right? So Enterprise knows where this file is in the vault. This is how we can have duplicate file names. If you want to think about it that way, it knows where it is in the vault. And the reason I point this out is in workgroup, there isn't this distinction. Everything is in the local cache. There's only one main subdirectory for that. So what we want to do here is show you how to reuse this real quick. So let me go to display and history. So here's my 3 revisions. Now I've got all kinds of nifty cool tools. I can go get this. I can save it. So is that new to anybody? You can go back in the history and save the file in Enterprise. Okay. So if I go get version 2, so now version 2 is in my local cache. See? It says so right there. Version 2 of 3. And it's got the little warning triangle. The warning triangle is just telling me, hey, there's a newer version in the vault. So Enterprise SolidWorks is doing what they can to keep us straight. Pack and go, move, rename, replace with the right mouse button click. So let's open this up. Okay, so I've got version 2, got that opened up. And it's pretty straightforward from here. I can create a new assembly, check it into the vault. I don't have any problems with my with my revisions. Let me think about where I want to go here. Yeah, let's go here. So I've got this checked out. Sorry, the pixels are the size of my head on my screen. All right, now, save as. All right, so now I've got 2 files with the same name in the vault. All right, one's in new folder. So it's that simple. I can just go out, grab it, check it, put it in a new vault. I can, let's go to here, and I'm going to grab my oil lamp assembly. I'm going to right click and copy that. And I'm going to go, this is out of my work group, local cache. I'm going to go back into my Acme vault, and let's go into here. Empty, just pick an empty folder, right click, paste. Update references. Okay, so all I did was I went and I grabbed an assembly from somewhere else outside the vault. Copy, paste, and now it's telling me that stuff isn't in the vault, but I've used update references. So now I can tell SolidWorks, replace it with the one in the vault. So I can, it's the same file, and I could have pasted all of the, all the parts into the vault. Sorry. File, find references. So now it's looking in the vault for my parts. Update references, tools, update references. So now when you've got an assembly that you're trying to move into the vault from outside the vault, you don't have to worry about where you put all those references. We've all got our ways of doing that, right? Pack and go is one of them. Make sure it's all in the same folder. But that slide I had about where SolidWorks goes looking for stuff, right? That should tell you why that works all the time. Not all the time, a lot of the time. All right, so there's my references. Okay, so before I move off of that, anybody got any questions about?
Would you recommend pack and go when bringing in, say, hundreds of thousands of assemblies from in the vault? Because we have a new user that's they're bringing in all of their own data.
Okay.
Starting new data, it's easy, but bringing in all the old stuff is the pain for them right now.
Okay. So the question is, do I recommend pack and go for bringing copious amounts of files into an enterprise vault, right? Enterprise?
Well, yeah, there are assemblies and getting them all over the parts instead of buying them individually like you just did.
Right. Yes. I would still recommend pack and go. If you've got a lot of stuff to do, then I would recommend pack and go, or actually, if it's thousands and thousands of files, you might want to talk to your local reseller about helping you out with that.
Okay.
There's ways of doing that. Any other resellers in the room? No? Yeah? No? Okay. Yes, sir.
You get a different effect when you pack and go assembly, opposed to say an individual part, individual action.
Do I get a different effect when I pack and go in assembly and pack and go a single part? Pack and go of a part wouldn't need to be done unless, I can't think of a case where I would want to do pack and go on a part. The pack and go is just is making sure we preserve the external references. So pack and go is taking a look at my external file references.
Because you only use it for a certain, so if I'm email somebody something, as long as it's an individual part, they're looking at it pack and go.
Correct. For a part file, all the parametric data is in the file.
No matter how large the file is.
Correct. Correct.
You can say that a copy there is, say, a copy of the vault. First individual part like that.
Yeah, if you wanted another copy of a part in a vault, you could do.
Number, and do a job in the vault.
Right. Right. So.
That would be more of a batch.
Right. So. Cool. Good. Should. Don't send them drawings anymore. Let them run. They're still going to get you with the title block tolerances anyway. So, question was talking about using pack and go for parts versus assemblies. So pack and go's primary goal in life is to maintain the external references. And then we were also talking about if you wanted to make a copy of a part in a vault, you pretty much do it the way I was showing you. You just file save as copy, but make sure it's save as copy. And then the other thing that people trip on is when you use save as and save as copy, different things are on the desktop when you're done. Right? So you have to be careful when you do save as and save as copy, whether you're really using the copy or whether you're still using your original file. That's a different session. Okay, any other questions, comments? No? Okay. All right, but wait, there's more. So with Enterprise, we also have copy tree and search stuff, right? Copy tree, who's familiar with that? Really? Okay, good. So, got your money's worth. So, I'm in, let's go back to something a little bit more familiar. So, I'm in Enterprise, right? Because we got the nifty cool green folders. Just check everything in so I don't accidentally get somewhere I don't want to be. All right, tools, copy tree. So I can copy all of my files in assembly. I just selected the assembly file, tools, copy tree. And I'm telling it to stick this copy into a folder I already have in the vault, folder name 1234. Everybody knows that one of the most awesome things about SolidWorks is the help files on dialog boxes, because it goes through dialog box by dialog box and tells you exactly what it is. So I won't go into that. But preserve relative paths, I just want to point out it's checked because I'll show you what that means. And we're checking them in with a comment, but I can transform them with a suffix. So we'll do the nifty cool SolidWorks world. So I'm going to take all my files and copy. almost let me do something that wasn't an assembly. Can't believe nobody was helping me out. Shows you what kind of group this is. It's okay. I'll call it. Okay. And again, this is fast, but it's a small assembly. So this is what it means by preserve relative paths. It kept my oil lamp assembly. So I kind of like that. I like that option. And there's everything. Right. And SolidWorks World, appended. So now I have new file names. There's no doubt when I open it up, even if the file references aren't what I expect them to be, I know exactly where to point them, and I know how to update references, right? Because Keith showed me how to do that. So there's copy tree. The search tool, I won't go into that too much, other than when we're trying to reuse designs, one of the things that happens is we can't find it. So the search tool is something that is really, really handy in enterprise. You can customize the searches, you can save favorites. So if you're constantly looking for different types of hardware, you can customize the search to go look for these files and find them pretty quickly. So there's the efficiency part of reusing designs that we really haven't addressed too much. I just kind of focus on what I see customers running into in terms of problems. There's a lot of questions about how to reuse stuff, and honestly, most everybody is afraid they're going to take their original design and blow it up. That's what they're concerned about, that there's no path back. And hopefully, I'm clearing some of that stuff up. So I won't go into depth on the search tool, but be happy to answer some questions later. And then, if we go back. Let's cancel, and no. I'm going to show you something else. Tool, copy tree. You can also zip these. You can also tie this to a zip program, WinZip. I've got IZARC installed on here, IZARC. So I can here tell it I'm just going to dump it in the root and click copy. And there's my zip file. All right. I've got a bunch of stuff in there. So you can also zip this, so when you want to send it to somebody, you can use copy tree basically to zip it up and put it somewhere else on the network, right? You can email that to customers. You've got something that's external to the vault. Okay, so before I move away, I want to talk a little bit about the toolbox. Toolbox in enterprise is great. It works fine, and it's also a way to immediately centralize your toolbox. So you don't run into the problem of some people are using Toolbox, some people aren't. Toolbox is a database, and again, there's got to be sessions here on Toolbox because everybody has questions about that and comments. But if you stick your toolbox in enterprise, then everybody who's using enterprise knows where that toolbox is. SolidWorks knows where that toolbox is, and they can pull those parts and move them back and forth. So that works great. In workgroup, same comment, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about that. It's not as straightforward. Design libraries in or out of the vault, definitely put them in the vault. They're revision controlled. There's a way back. You've got history. You can roll stuff back if you have to, if somebody accidentally overwrites, but you really don't care because if they overwrite, because you can always go get or save the old version and get that out of the vault, right? Any questions? No? Okay, backups. Especially workgroup. Workgroup is what we refer to as a flat file database. If you monkey around, if you go into the where you have your vault, out of the box, it's named Vault Data. So if I go to mine, here's my Vault Data. If I start messing around in here, I can corrupt the data and there is no recovering it. You don't need technical support, you need grief counseling. All right? Okay? So on enterprise, kind of the same thing. Although you've got an archive, you've got a database, and you've got SQL. You've got to back all those up. Sorry, clicked on the timeline. So here's why I've got Daniel Castillo on the screen. So I make backups every night, right? My IT department makes backups every night. I know I have a good backup. Really? Did you test it? Did you load it on a machine and fire it up? Right? So JFK had a great security system until some guy broke down on a jet ski in the river and walked right into the airport. They do backups every night. They've got a fence, they've got a perimeter, but they don't test it. Guy just walked right into the airport. So if you're making the backups but you're not testing them, if you're not installing them, then you're not finishing the job. And VMware costs a couple $100. You can get a terabyte for $100. So I'm just telling you, test your backups from a guy that's on the other side of the phone. Okay. Do you guys have any more questions? I try to knock them down as we're moving along. Yep. Okay. Now, other topics. Anybody got any other topics that they want to address about reusing designs? So, toolbox in the vault, design library in the vault. Really, no reason to have problems rolling back, taking older versions, creating new stuff. It's all in there. Where it gets, go ahead.
Options you click so that it wouldn't allow you to save two files in the same name.
Yes, in enterprise. Yes, it's in the admin tool. Admin tool.
Yeah, it will be on the file names.
I'm sorry.
File types, right click on.
That's right. File types. Yes.
Settings.
There we go. I can't ever remember file types. Good question. Yes. Actually, I don't know. So the question, or actually the comment was, you may want to mention what happens when you turn this on midstream. And I don't know what happens. It'll allow you to do that going forward, but what happens if it's off, once you turn it on, yeah, right,
That is already in the vault, like say you have it in two folders, it exists in two places.
right.
You have a version, you have it checked out, it's checked in one location. When you go to check it back in, you can't see.
Okay, but if you turn it off, if it's on and you turn it off,
Oh, sorry, if it's off, if you decide
right,
to using, and you have a multiple files, and you say, okay, from here on out, I don't want to allow anyone to use the file name. You go when you turn this on,
okay,
if the user has something in their local work,
okay,
if they haven't checked out, and it already exists in a different location in the vault with the same file name, as soon as you go to try to check it in, it won't let you. The
Okay.
file already exists.
okay. I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about going the other way. So, okay. So what she was talking about is if you already have this turned off, and it sounds like most people have their vault set up to not allow, to not allow duplicate file names. But if you have it set up to allow duplicate file names, and then you turn it off, if a file with a duplicate name is already checked out, you have it in your local cache, and then you go to check it back in, the new rule kicks in. And now I can't get a file that I know is a file I want in the vault. Now I can't get it back in the vault. Good point. Yes. Sure.
We're bringing another site online, starting a video with our group and another site. And when they're opening some of our files now in the vault, for some reason it's not opening the latest revision. I know this setting somewhere, but
Yes, right. So the question is, well, actually, they're adding a second location, and the second location is not getting the latest files. Why am I drawing a blank?
I
Where
don't remember how we did it. I don't think so. I don't remember how we did it.
okay, I'm drawing a blank.
Right-click on the user and go to settings.
But okay, that's what I did. I opened it. Double left. Thank you. All right.
Just on that page, right in the middle.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So I think I always work with.
Yeah. Always work with the latest version of files. Thanks. Good questions. Yes, sir.
One quick question, are there any issues with configurations? I don't know, someone was saying something about some issues with Google files, checking files, and configurations of this.
Okay. So the question is with work group whether or not there's an issue with having parts with configurations and then reusing those. I just did it, so it works. It works fine. So for example, what I did was I went and got Rev B of the oil lamp, and it had Rev C of the wick, and it still had those three configurations. When I went back to the as-built for Rev B of the assembly, it picked up Rev B of the. Where we run into problems is if you build all three configurations on the same Rev. And then what happens is what pops up on the screen, it is not the default configuration for that particular assembly. And there's not a way to set that. So that is an issue. It's there, but when you've got 1,000 components in an assembly, it becomes complicated because people are reusing parts with configurations. So in workgroup, I like to recommend config, revision, and then it's a lot easier to control. Not as big an issue with enterprise. It's not as big an issue. Because every time I add a config and I hit save, it's version.
The way you used, you're trying to use two different revisions in different assemblies, what happened there?
Right.
Is the conclusion of the same thing happens to enterprise? I see you do the same thing with enterprise and as far as using the same part in versions, two different assemblies.
Right. So, and I'm gonna say something, and maybe you can clarify it because I don't quite understand yet. So you're talking about I was reusing the wick control.
Yeah, maybe I just missed it, but did you do the same thing with enterprise as you did?
I didn't step through it. I didn't step through the exact same steps, but it's the exact same steps. I go and I get the older version instead of the revision. I can go get version. I went and got version 2 of the wick control. At that point, all I had to do was make an assembly from it, put it in the vault. I just didn't want you guys to.
Basically, you just have to be careful when you're creating it, if you're checking the settings correctly.
When you're checking it in,
When you're creating it, you got to make sure you're selecting the right version.
correct. Yeah, I mean, right. This is. I don't think anybody's in the business in here of building oil lamp assemblies. So that the design intent's not there for you to use. But yeah, you would have known, because it's your part, you would have known you wanted version 9, an older version. And you just select get or save in the history, in the APDM, pull down get or save, and then it dumps that into the local cache. As soon as that gets into the local cache, that's what you're working from. You're working from version 9, and the tab on the data card window down at the bottom, it tells you you've got version 9 of 11. Remember I had the little triangle that says you've got an older version? Not at the same time, and why not? What's that? It's not. It comes out of the vault? No. Yes. RAM. That's why I put that list up there, right? I can't have two things of the same name open in SolidWorks regardless of what PDM system I'm using. It's not that, it can't overcome, that part of SolidWorks. So you can't have both on the screen at the same time. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, right. So the question is, it looks like copy tree and pack and go are the same thing. So why would you use one over the other? Copy tree is built right into Enterprise, takes care of things. I can easily append stuff. I can preserve the file paths. I can add design comments. So there's just more features to it. But yeah, generate serial numbers. So if I wanted to randomly assign a sequence of serial, not randomly, but assign a sequence of serial numbers, the next set of serial numbers to these parts. A lot of people are using parts with serialized part numbers. Yes?
When I think the drawing and I change the reference to another similar part,
Okay.
sometimes I found it doesn't work. That is
Okay, in workgroup or enterprise? In workgroup, okay. So question is, he's trying to use a drawing and point it to a different part or assembly in the drawing, and he says sometimes it doesn't work in workgroup. The reason that wouldn't work is not workgroup, it would be SolidWorks. Because what we're doing is we're changing the external reference of the drawing, so that would be very situational. I'd have to see what you were doing to explain, unless you got an error message in mind. Did it just says invalid? Okay. If you're pointing to a reference in the vault, that's going to be problematic. So you can't point to, you remember I had like the Jeep project. I couldn't point to C:\Jeep, because C:\Jeep doesn't exist. That's in the vault. On my computer, everything is in PDMWG checkout. Everything's in my local cache folder. And that's probably what's happening. See, everything in workgroup is in the exact same folder on your hard drive. Wherever you tell SolidWorks to store the workgroup files locally in the local cache, that's where all the external references are pointing to. That's why what happens is people will create an assembly on their machine. They'll put in a design library component that is on their machine. They'll check it into the vault. Somebody else checks it out, and it can't find the design library part. Why? It's just not in the vault. It's on their local machine. External references. All right. So that's why I wanted to kind of go at it this way, because that's really, yes.
When somebody checks in and somebody checks out, somehow the safety of the fastener reverts back to the generic. We avoid that.
In Toolbox, somebody creates an assembly with a fastener in it,
Fasteners in it,
checks it into the vault.
quarter 20,
Mhm.
checks it in the vault,
Somebody else opens it up.
else opens it, and then somehow
It sticks the generic in there, right? The fastener the size of my head. Yeah, right. Right. I've never seen that before. So what's probably happening in that case is it's pointing to the wrong, it's pointing to the wrong search path for Toolbox. It's not finding that fastener in the Toolbox, so it defaults to the giant one. Toolbox is a database. So if the Toolbox isn't in the vault, right? If the Toolbox is in the vault, so that is not going to happen on a quarter 20 screw, because everybody's Toolbox has a quarter 20 hex head cap screw. That'll work. But when you start customizing fasteners, but if they modify it, that'll happen. Or, like I said, or if their paths are not set correctly for the Toolbox in their settings, that'll happen as well. So it can't find the. Right, right, yeah. There's something wrong with the setup of SolidWorks. So it has nothing to do with workgroup. The giant Toolbox fasteners is not being caused by workgroup. It's being caused by the external references in SolidWorks. Right. All right, great. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have multiple bolts,
Okay.
and we use the setting always work with version of the file.
Okay.
What creates or the bolt that we have something references against external reference. If it references something in the other bolts, you can only grab whatever's attached. Do you know any way around that to make it also used by the person with other vaults?
Well, so the vaults aren't replicated.
No, it's not an issue of replication. They're two separate vaults. So,
Right, and yeah, I don't even know how that, yeah, no. There's no way to tell that another vault exists somewhere other than, yeah, absolutely, sure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, you're welcome.